Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro, and it's time to review His Three Daughters, directed by Azazel Jacobs. This director is known for The Lovers and French Exit. The only other movie I've seen from him is French Exit. We did not like that movie. Went into this movie not having high expectations and ended up really liking it. Don't judge French Exit by whether you will like this film or not. It is not a good gauge. This is kind of a chamber drama about three daughters who come together to say their last goodbyes to their dying father in an apartment. It sounds like a real sad fest, and it is very emotionally powerful, but it's not doing that with just being sad. It is really about finding the beauty of these characters coming together and dealing with their father, and a lot of people seem to have very personal reactions to this movie and what it says to them specifically about the grieving process and our loved ones. But again, it never felt to me like it was trying really hard to go for emotional moments or make me like upset. Something about the way that this movie was emotional just felt cathartic. It felt like a movie that I want to cherish and watch again. What really roped me into this movie was that you have these three main characters who have this very intimate bond together, this father, but aside from that, they have very little in common. They almost live in like different worlds, different bubbles. And I think the movie speaks to how we as individuals all live in our own little bubbles in a really almost profound way. And it's also about what we tell ourselves about other people's bubbles to defend our own perspective and to justify the one that we live in. So the film is sort of this breaking and this molding of these different perspectives where these characters have fractured throughout the years. And that was the element of the film that hit me the hardest and that I was most invested in. The character work here was excellent. The way that the characters were written three-dimensionally, how you see them differently in the end than you did in the beginning, how they're able to be likable and also be extremely flawed. I also love that these characters have big, fiery personalities and how spectacular it often is when they clash together. I have heard a complaint that people feel it's too stagey because it is written like a play. This could easily be translated directly onto a stage. But this is just something that's gonna either bother you or not. I was just so sold on the performances and the dialogue feeling true and authentic that it simply did not bother me. I loved the way that this was written, and I loved how in sync the performances felt. We got Carrie Coon, Elizabeth Olsen, and Natasha Lyonne giving some of the year's best performances, and Natasha Lyonne is possibly the one who steals the show the most. The performance was so real. She just felt like this was who she was. And there's one scene in particular that is just drilled into my brain from how Natasha Lyonne performed it. Devastating, brought me to tears. It also doesn't feel like the kind of performance we see that often. I don't know why, like the type of character that she's playing felt very unique to the screen to me. I also want to shout out Hovan Adepo, who played the saxophonist in Babylon, who was excellent in that film. He also makes a one-scene appearance here, but when he does, he steals the show. It's one of the best scenes in the film, but he also plays this excellently. So he was just as good as them, just less screen time. And although this takes place mostly in an apartment, I did feel that it was very cinematic, especially in the way that it uses single shots and framing the characters in the center of those. Like right from the beginning of the movie, I got the sense that this was about people who live in their own worlds. All the angles felt really deliberate. It felt like it had a style. And even though you could argue like that it's, bland looking because it's a bunch of white walls and it's just an apartment, it just felt right. And I think it was also the right choice to shoot on film here because digital would have made it look too bland. My only gripe with this movie is that I was not in sync with the ending. I'll leave it at that, but I also will caveat it by saying we've talked about the film and it's possible that I would have a different perspective on the ending if I watched it again. And I talked to another person at TIFF who said the ending was really important to him. So I can't really knock it for that because it's so subjective, but I will say that it really didn't work for me, but I'm gonna leave some room there. And the rest of the film was so incredible for me that I still ended up loving it, despite like strongly disagreeing with that choice. That choice though is one of the ones I've been thinking about the most. This was one of the most intensely emotional experiences I've had with the movie this year because I just felt so attached to and connected with the characters. I would give this movie a 9 out of 10 and it's the best thing I saw at TIFF. Yeah, I would also give this movie a 9 out of 10 and it's the best non-Cannes film that I've seen at TIFF. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. How many daughters do you have?